Welcome to day 1 of my 100 days challenge on Pugnacia, which I also like to call death. Now let me show you why. Ready? Lego.
I spawned in and I'm being chased by over Canada. Ah! I just got killed by a bat. Oh my god.
Or have you just gone completely rogue? Jesus.
Completely rude.
You're gonna die like...
Oh shit. Thought I could escape this capro by running in zigzags.
I'm zigzagging. Oh, it didn't work.
Fuck my life. I didn't even see where the ancient turkey was. I spawned in again, had a look around, and I thought it was safe. Time to get serious. I got my tools, I gathered some fibre, and I thought I could get some free hide from this sarco carcass. The Bronto said no.
Nope.
I was exhausted, so I lay down to evaluate my life choices. Don't look at my bum. I made a plan. It was getting dark and I needed shelter. I got myself some stone, I grabbed me some wood, and I made a pumpkin trolley to get me a house. And breathe. Day 1 has been complete. Day 2 and time to pick up my crap and get the hell out of this death zone. I ran along this beach and saw a raptor. Nope. Get me out of here. You know, into the jaws of a capro. Just what I wanted. Time to spawn somewhere new. I saw this little bulb dog. Sorry my friend, but I need some meat. I thought I was safe up on this rock from a flagrant dodo. Yup, I was wrong. Mistakes were made. I respawned and found some rare mushrooms to farm. Turns out that's exactly what my new blue friend wanted. And my friend, Gamer K, had the honour of naming my very first tame.
Oh, Maxine?
Maxine.
Maxine?
It is. Come on, Maxine.
Maxine was a warrior and took care of business so I could finally harvest me some meat. I made myself a Pugnacia slingshot and went out to explore with my new friend. I thought I would go see what was in this green drop. Turns out it was death. Again.
Oh, no.
And I had no idea where Maxine was, so I tamed up a new friend. This one was named by Mr. Jacko the Traveller,
Pink Lestro.
Call it top draw surprise.
who was also playing on this server with me. I thought I was being smart and I could back up whilst throwing stones at this dodo. I was wrong. And died. Again. I couldn't find either of my new friends, so come night time I called off the search. I got out my pumpkin trolley again and put down another house for the night. This time I was smart and I put down a bed, so at least I had a respawn. So I apparently got killed outside my base, but have no footage. So mystery death number 13? I went for a jog on the beach, only to find death number 14. I respawned at a random place, just so I can show you how terrible my parkour skills are. I decided to go back home where I thought I was safe.
Nope.
Fuck you, Raptor. I had to try my parkour skills again because this flagrant dodo was chasing me down. I thought I was safe up here, but he took a little bit of a nibble at my toes. I used my Pugnacia slingshot to throw some stones and they went down, trying to hide from me inside this rock. We went out to explore a little. I thought we could take on this trike, but he was more vicious than I thought. Luckily, he booped us into the water, and we swam faster than he could run. I got a random piece of kibble from this white drop, but decided roaming the beach at night was not for us. So we went back home to wait for sunrise. I started day 4 by naming our big black dodo BBD, which stands for, you know, big black dodo. I spent the morning riding BBD on the beach, looking for some more friends. We went for a swim to clean ourselves off and came across the red mush chops. I still had my rare flowers on me, so I tamed her up and called her monthly. I accidentally fed this prodigious listro, but thought, what the heck, the more the merrier. So I tamed her up too, and named her Pocket Rocket. I took my new friends back home and then had to do some more farming, but it was slow work. So Monthly and I went out on the search for a trike. Because in Pugnacia, trikes are seriously amazing at gathering stone. As the sun was setting, we still couldn't find any good levels, but we were determined. So our search continued as night fell. Eventually, we came across this level 812 female, and I gave her the medjo berries that she so desired. But this conflagrant dodo had other ideas. I tried to get back to Monthly, but instead of mounting her, I gathered berries. And the dodo won again. Pocket Rocket gave me a lift back to the trike, and boy did he get me there fast. Just in time to get revenge on the dodo. Now, I'm gonna say that this stunt was intentional. I hopped off right onto the trike. So I decided to chill up here, feeding it berries. Seemed safer this way. She took all morning to tame up. I needed more hide to make her a saddle, so I went for a jog to see if I could find anything that I could scavenge some hide from, only to present myself as a schneck to a raptor.
Oh, fuck you, Raptor.
Luckily, I still had the taming tracker on the trike, so I could easily find my way back. I sat on my Pocket Rocket again and led Monthly and the trike back home to relative safety, where I could finally make her a saddle. We were innocently farming when a raptor thought he could come back for some more. Look, I know I taste good, Mr. Raptor, but now I have a trike and we are not so easy to eat. Back at base, I made up a mortar and pestle and a forge and went out farming. And although I am playing on Crystal Isles, I hadn't yet got any crystal, so I farmed just enough to make some soul balls. I grabbed all the resources and balled up the trike, and I had a big brain move. I would Baywatch run myself to this glacial carbonemus, throw a stone, and it would kill me. Easy way to get back home. The next day, I finally made myself an awesome spyglass and watched as the beautiful red sky turned to morning. With my super speedy trike, I ventured over to a dangerous area. I don't know why, but I came here to harvest these tiny little river rocks to get a little bit of metal. I got a bit scared when this wyvern landed, so I just zoomed past him to get back home, where I found a much safer place to harvest the river rocks. That was until this nameless decided to spawn some kind of Satan's sheep that wanted me, but it was nothing that we couldn't take care of. I placed down a meat spoiler, and with that and my trike, we would soon be rolling in narcotics. I finally placed down a Pugnacia smithy and made myself a bow, and some Pugnacia trank arrows. So by day 7, it was time to get serious. Crystal Isles is a beautiful map, and if I want to see most of it, I'm going to need a flyer. So that was my mission for the day, and by golly we found a good one. This level 728 Pteranodon. Max level is 800 by the way, so this was pretty good.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I bowled him up, knocked him out, and then had to wait for him to tame up. And while we're waiting for him, I just want to say a massive thank you for joining me on this adventure. And if you're enjoying the video, please give it a thumbs up, drop me a comment, and also consider subscribing. Oh, and I also have a Discord that I share with my good friend Gamer K. The link is in the description below, so pop by and say hello. Boy, it is thirsty work surviving on Pugnacia. So I got myself a little drink and brought up my PT so nothing could happen to him. I spent the day doing some combat training with my trike. My biggest accomplishment was taking on this Carcanos, all on my own and reaping the juicy rewards. Back at home, I crafted up a saddle for my PT and we took off on our maiden flight. I was nervous at first and didn't want to venture too far, but I soon gained some confidence and went to see what the world had to offer. And this is when I first laid my eyes on a conflagrant Maywing. In Pugnacia, these guys act as a generator, so I definitely needed one of these. Unfortunately, it wasn't the safest of areas, so I had to abandon him. I did find a rich metal node though, so of course I went to farm it up. No more farming river rocks for this peasant. Everything in Pugnacia is super speedy, so I could cover a lot of ground with my little green booger. Now a conflagrant Spino is a must-have in Pugnacia, as this creature is very strong and will allow me to take things to the next level. I wasn't looking for one this early, but I did fly past this max level with a very high level close by. But maybe, just maybe, if I could sit up high enough, I could knock it out. Except no one told me the Spino was like a freaking Spider-Man. Early the next morning, I went on a mission to find another Pteranodon to replace my green booger. I haven't seen a death message for him, by the way, so he is out there somewhere. I hopped out of the water and saw this max level that had already gained torpor somehow. I was carefully watching the many dangers around me whilst I waited for him to land. But he never did. Instead, I saw this level 728 land and decide she would be the one. I tied her up. I shot my arrows her way and she was down. Maybe this max level was her lover boy, because he was still hanging around. And the second he landed, I threw my bowler.
What the fuck was that?
Even in game, I stood here shocked at myself. That was also my last bowler, so if I couldn't get him with one arrow, I'm screwed. But I went in pursuit, he finally landed, and I got him out. I went out for an adventure whilst I waited for them to starve a little. In Pugnacia, you get cakes as a reward for killing things. So when I came across this little Ovis, I thought, why not have a little woolly friend? I had plenty of cakes on me after all. I could hear some music and stumbled across this penguin with an AK-47. Okay then. I had to fight some more demon sheep, and if it was fate, I found a female Ovis who could also join the family. And so I tamed her up. Should have seen this coming though. First thing I did when I respawned back at home was throw out my 2 new friends to get some woolly bebes that I may or may not slaughter for mutton at a later date. But first, time to make me a duck. So I crafted myself some scissors and I finally got my mohawk. I went back to my sleeping pteranodons, but I was too late. This angry bird had murdered them in cold blood. I feel like day 10 should be a landmark, but in reality, nothing amazing happened. I just tamed a replacement trike and a pteranodon. But this, my dear friends, gives me the perfect opportunity to tell you all about my secondary goal during this challenge. Pugnacia has 9 world pseudo-bosses. Let me introduce you to Kyreem's little plant friend, Mothra, Elemental Titanosaur, the third trike, MisterFistr, the Kraken, Skarner, Tempest, Bringer of Rain, and the Spinebreaker. Now, don't judge me, okay, but you've seen how easy I die or lose tames, so I had to breed myself a bunch of backup pteranodons. Oh, and Pugnacia has a dino paint gun, so I recolored this imprinted PT to make her pretty, and named her Bullet. The Ark gods finally blessed me and I managed to knock out this max level conflagrant Spino. This will definitely be a game changer. The duck farm is finally growing! I took out my new Spino and I was demolishing everything. I was going mad with power. I even went to the scariest place there was, the desert. I was untouchable. Nothing could stand in my way. But I got a bit too cocky and this ancient turkey launched missiles at my face. Just like that, my Spino was taken from me. And so I had to go find myself another Spino. I took the high ground and I knocked her out. Please don't call Peter on me. Whilst waiting for her to starve, I had a very close call with a conflagrant Anki I wanted to tame. That's because they act as a forge and could smelt my metal. There was also a conflagrant Doid nearby that doubles as a grinder, so I got both of these guys tamed up too. And after nearly a day of searching, I found a second Spino that I could knock out and tame up. There was this prodigious Achatina hanging around too, so I fed him some cake and he joined the duck tribe. On my way back home, I finally found a high-level male Spino. Things were starting to look up, so when I got back home, we started to make some Spino babies. I went back for that conflagrant Maywing I saw earlier, and then I went back to the desert to go on a level up rampage. I found a glacial carbonemes, which also acts as a fridge. And then in the middle of the red trees, I tamed up a conflagrant frog, and that acts as a chemistry bench. I'm really making progress with the utility dinos now. I saw that conflagrant anglerfish were a thing, and I was curious as to what they did, but I still had to kill this Sarco to make it safe. I got dismounted, but picked up my bullet and ran for my life.
Run, Forrest, run!
And I ran, Forrest, ran, right into the jaws of my arch enemy. In a panic, I threw out my Spino, hoping he would defend me, but I died before he had the chance. I made my way back and got my revenge. No way was I losing another dino. I was hoping that anglerfish would help with gathering pearls, but I couldn't find one, so I gathered them by hand like a fool. But with these, I could make the electronics I needed to make a teleporter. I bred up my small army of Spinos and took them to the desert to level up. We absolutely wrecked everything, even this Titanosaur. So when I saw the skeletal giga, I thought we would breeze through this too. I guess I got a little bit too power hungry and my Spino army paid the price. This was a major setback. I decided I wanted Griffin. I found a high level battling with some thorny dragons, so I tried to help it. But I got rudely interrupted by this deathworm, and by the time Bullet had killed it, the Griffin was dead. Then I found another even higher level. I tried to help keep it alive, but I think I ended up killing it? Why can't I have nice things? I thought I would try one last time. I saw a max level in the Griffin trench and managed to get it to follow me back up to the top, where the plan was to net gun it. Well, that was a fail.
You're a stupid dumbass.
I made my way back, and whilst Bullet was distracting him, I tried to net gun it again. Ignore the fact that I got my Pteranodon instead. Not just once, but a few times. The thing that matters is I got the Griffin in the end, okay? And Gamer K told me to name it Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
We found an ancient Rex, so I threw out my Spinos and took on the ancient one. But it only gave me one golden kibble, but it does act as an insta-tame, so I took off to find some more. I found this magma egg, high level, so I took it and then proceeded to murderize another ancient Rex. Then it was time to tame my first primal, and I decided to tame a primal stego, because that would seriously help me with my narcotic production, as these stegos have the ability to gather one type of berry. I went to the desert as I needed some primal hide for its saddle. Unfortunately, I attracted some unwanted attention, and the skeletal giga murderized us both. R.I.P. Jeff. And as if to add insult to injury, Nim flew past me on his griffin, but he did give me some primal hide that I was missing. Back at the Griffin trench, I didn't have any nets for my net gun, so I thought I could bring it down on foot. Of course I was wrong.
Are you high or just incredibly stupid?
I made some more nets and then I went back. Again. Glutton for punishment, me. Let's not discuss how terrible I am with this net gun. Poor Bullet. I think I'm gonna have to get her a therapist after all of this. Look at this guy's awesome mohawk. So because it's black, it means he will only gather narco berries, and that is exactly the reason I wanted him. Well, the mohawk was also another reason. I thought I would finally go meet up with Mr. Jacko the Traveller. It took me a while to find him, but I eventually set eyes on his base. We had decided to take on this 100 days challenge together, so go check out his channel for his perspective. I guess he didn't want any visitors because he did this. Luckily, you don't take much fall damage in Pugnacia, so as compensation I decided I would use my new stego to harvest all of the bushes he had up here. Turns out, he wasn't good at sharing.
Get out.
Oh yeah, show me.
Get out of my bushes. My bushes. Oh, my bushes. My bushes. I leveled up to speed, now what you gonna do?
And as the night drew in, I headed home, picked up my new friend and went to bed. After placing down a table and some chairs, I saw this yellow drop had a rifle, so I patiently waited for it, and then went to explore a little. Perhaps do some drop hunting. I flew through the swamp and came across this terrifying little overspawn. I flew into this little crevice and came across the motherload of metal, so I placed down a teleporter, rushed home to grab my conflagrant Anki and proceeded to farm all of the metal, and my Anki would smelt it all for me. It was time to upgrade to trank darts. However, I could only make 3, so I went out on the hunt for a conflagrant mammoth, because these guys will make me a ton of charcoal in its inventory as I gather the wood. Shortly after, I found a glacial direwolf. I had no idea what this guy did, but he looked cool, so I wanted him. I found this horde of direwolves and slaughtered them with my new tame. He looks cool, but he is definitely not the strongest. So when I came across another ancient Rex, it was time to break out the Spino and get me some more golden kibble. I was on my way back home when I stumbled across Jacko, who was taming up his Spino. He told me about an ancient Rex not too far, so together we took down the beast. More golden kibble! Yay! I decided to run around with Jacko for a little as he leveled up his new Spino, when he ran right into the path of another ancient Rex. So we started to fight it when Jacko pulled a duck move and lost his battle. Rip Jacko and his new Spino. Thanks for the kibble though. I went to visit him back at his base to console him, but he wanted to have a little race to cheer himself up. But I got the winner chicken dinner, and to celebrate I went back home and did a thing. I placed an ascension portal, and this would allow primeval dinos to spawn. Remember my side mission of this challenge? This would allow me to start doing that. It would also make the world a more dangerous place to live. But for now, time to put my mammoth to work as I needed all the charcoal to make gunpowder. So first I headed to my conflagrant frog to make up some spark powder. And call me Guy Fawkes because I had bucket loads of gunpowder. But finally I could make some trank darts. The world was definitely more terrifying with many boss health bars. I flew around and I saw a nightmare Pegasus. I decided it must be my friend. I knocked it out and put my golden kibble to work, instantly taming this beast. I killed a Sarko to get some levels and discovered the balls of fire this thing brings down. But, as it is a running theme in this challenge, I got a bit too cocky, and this is where the story of my nightmare Pegasus ends. I'm so sorry, buddy. I spent the next day incredibly salty and killed everything in sight, especially Rexes. I even managed to slay a primeval dragon with the help of these 2 ancient Rexes. This was more luck than anything, I think. So glad it didn't aggro on me right away, or there'd probably be another dead duck counter right about now. I seemed to be running into ancient Rexes everywhere, so my golden kibble collection was looking good. So time to look for some more things to tame. I came across this unicorn, and I knew it would be a great friend. Not just because it has a marvellous rainbow trail, because it also poops rainbow poops, and that will give me or my dinos an XP boost if we eat it. My thinking is that it would be really handy when I'm trying to level up my dinos. Now Thylers are probably my favourite tame in Ark, so I could not pass up this opportunity to tame the Primal Thyler. My griffin tanked some hits so I could get him all tamed up. Look at him in his cute little hat. Whilst I was levelling up my griffin, I saw some very familiar explosions, so I had to investigate. With a little jump scare from Jacko, of course. We decided to take on our first Dodo Rex together and receive the Dodo Rex energy. I could not let this nightmare Pegasus escape. Who knows if I would find another one. I got a couple of arrows in, but when he attacked, my Spino was not on passive. And there ended my dreams of another nightmare Pegasus.
Oh shit! Watch out.
So I took out my frustrations. That night, we ended up near the redwoods and we found our first manticore. Jacko took flight trying to get it.
Oh, okay, bye bye, Duck.
And I followed suit.
Oh.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Hi, I'm flying above you.
We wanted to try and kill it, but Jacko had already gotten its attention, and it shot its sleepy juice right at him. It killed Jacko and knocked out his Spino. Rip. Now, being the good friend that I am, I harvested all the resources needed to make a little house so I could guard his Spino. I even put down a bed, just in case I died. And let's face it, that's a very real possibility. And then I sat topless on my chair in the snow as the sun set, waiting for Jacko to return. It was morning before Jacko's Spino woke up, and he had finally made his way back to us. So off we set, looking for more adventure. I watched Jacko take down a phoenix from up here, but I still got the phoenix energy, so win for me. I carried on searching for primevals to kill, as I would need all of the primeval energies and primal meat. During my search, I came across another nightmare Pegasus. The Ark gods were on my side, and I was not taking any chances, so I net-gunned this beautiful white pony, knocked it out and fed it golden kibble. Picked her up as fast as I could. I did not want another one to die. I needed to get my new friend some XP, so she would stand a chance in this arc. So I took her to the desert to kill some stuff. And I know what you're thinking, but don't worry, I've learnt my lesson and I played it safe. But her fireball attack was freaking awesome. I pumped points into health and melee, of course, but I couldn't resist putting a few into speed. And I also named her Cleopatra. Whilst browsing the Pugnacia smithy, I came across this statue. Any wild aggressive dino would become passive when they entered its magical snow, so I added it to protect my base. I almost forgot to name my unicorn. I named her Amber Turd for me, and wasted far too much time riding in circles to see the rainbow trail. I sat and watched the sunrise as Amber Turd gave me my first rainbow poop. I wanted to make an S+ grinder, but was short on some resources. So I took Cleopatra out to go harvest up a bunch of crystal. I remembered when I got home I still had that magmasaur egg, so I threw that in the hatchery and then remembered I could make an egg incubator. But I was short on electronics, so Cleopatra and I took off to grab some more silica pearls from this little lake. But as I was flying home, I finally saw a conflagrant anglerfish, and although it was fine getting the pearls by hand, I still wanted her. There were some pretty nasty things in the water, but I still managed to get it knocked out from the back of Cleopatra. I didn't have any way to kill it, so I knocked out this primal Dunkley to make it safer. So I may as well tame it, eh? And just as well I did, because it took care of this megalodon that was coming for me, so I could tame up the anglerfish. Problem was, this ex-mosasaur decided to join the fight, and as quick as I got the angler, it was gone again. I got home, and whilst my electronics were being crafted, I sat at my table, once again contemplating the decisions I've made. I made a saddle for my new Dunkley and then went out for a little test drive. I had a little bit of a fight with his cousin, but this mosasaur was polite enough and decided to wait his turn to fight me. But I forgot it did bleed damage, so it swam away.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Discovered he was way good at gathering berries and fibre though. I decided to drop by and see Jacko. He was also making good progress. He had an Indominus Rex already. And then I saw he had a giant purple monkey guard that he named after me. Not sure if I should be honoured or offended. I was looking around for more things to tame and came across this male unicorn. A perfect partner for Amber Turd for me. I net-gunned him up, but Cleopatra got attacked. I thought she would sit there and tank it, but she was not on passive, so she rained down her fireballs and killed the unicorn. She also angered a third trike. I was not in any position to fight that, and although it was a struggle, I finally got away from it. Next utility tame I wanted was an elephant, because they are the best wood gatherers. I found a low level. She wasn't amazing, but it was much more fun than gathering wood by hand. So she would do. Get it? Wood? I hatched the magmasaur baby and called him Spicy. I fed him a rainbow poop and we were off out to gather some crystal. I needed oil and I knew there was a place in the snow to get a bunch, and then started smashing the oil rocks like a She-Hulk. Then this mana came charging at me and came for my dinos too. Luckily Cleopatra sounded the alarm and my Spino, that I named Thing 2 at some point, and Spicy fought together to combat the invasion. This is a satiating nutriment and the reason why I have been killing primevals. And now with this, I can go tame my own, and I want the primeval dragon. I used the shoot and fly away method to tame this high level dragon. This went on for an embarrassing amount of time until finally he went down. I got him all tamed up and tested out his abilities. 14k damage per tick on his fire breath. Not bad at all. As is tradition, to the desert. You see these potions you get from killing things? Those red ones are health potions, which means I can heal my dino from my hotbar. I killed a bunch of things, even a titanosaur and a meg. Then I tried my luck with a skeletal giga. This fight got a little dicey, even with my potions. So for my dragon safety and my own, I bailed. I met up with Jacko as we wanted to take on our first boss together, the elemental titanosaur. So we rushed in together and to our surprise, we were melting through his health, even whilst he rained down his balls of fire on us. And when we defeated him, we unlocked a whole bunch of techgrams. Jacko got the loot from that one, so I went to find myself another titanosaur. I got the final blow and scored myself some volcanic leggings. The volcanic armor never breaks, so time to get me the entire collection. Let me introduce you to Mothra. She put up a fight, but eventually she gave me the boots. Up next we have MisterFistr. Although small, he put up an almighty fight. I was of course victorious and I got the volcanic gauntlets. I need some protection for my chesticle, so time to hunt down Kyrene's little plant friend. She spat out this goo that made us super slow, but we got the job done. And finally, we got to the third trike. He spawned an undead army, which I think is cheating, but still, no match for me and my dragon. And we completed the volcanic armor set with the helmet. Although my dragon is amazing, I thought I would try and get another. So I headed off to the redwoods where I had seen a few of them before. I didn't want to risk my dragon, so I was on Joffrey the Griffin, and Duck here forgot how squishy he was against a wild dragon. R.I.P. Joffrey. This footage is not sped up, believe it or not. Those Vulcan boots that I got earlier made me super speedy.
Still fast as fuck, boy.
I ran as fast as I could, but the dragon was hot on my heels. I turned around to shoot another trank into him, but this proved to be a fatal error. Another duck death. Got to be the third time lucky, right? Will I ever learn? But he was so close to being knocked out and I needed to get this dragon. I was so keen that I forgot to drink my health potion but he was so close. I have to go back. Again, I saw all my death beams and right there by the water, I saw him. I shot the final dart and they went down, finally. I cleared out some of the dinos to make it safe and got this dragon all tamed up. You better be good after all these deaths. Of course I had to get an imprinted dragon, so I bred them, popped the egg in the incubator. You okay there? Guess we have to fill it up and see what that looks like. I hatched a baby dragon and named it Lucas. I grew him up and painted him to be stealth. To the desert. Fed Lucas a rainbow poop and killed a bunch of things for levels, including this broodmother to get the broodmother energy. I stopped by to see Jacko, who had tamed some more Indom Rexes, and we traded. I gave him a dragon egg and in return he gave me an Indominus Rex egg. I hatched it up at Jacko's place and then, you guessed it, to the desert. I took on another elemental titanosaur to give it some levels. So I'm officially at the halfway point, and I've been grinding out primeval souls so I could make a sacrifice to get my very first boss tamed. Problem was, I was missing a phoenix energy. I had not seen a single one, so the hunt began, and as I was in the snow fighting some wyverns, I saw one, here in the snow of all places, but I finally got that last energy that I needed. I also came across this little overspawn in a ball of water and found this extremely satisfying, so I kept it in the video. I now had all the energies I needed to make a MisterFistr sacrifice, and as the name suggests, I have to sacrifice one of my primeval dragons. So I placed it inside and boom, my very own MisterFistr. And he was huge, at least twice my height.
That's quite big. Impressive.
And where do we go to level up? To the desert. I took on a Titanosaur and this Megapithecus to get some levels. I leveled up melee and MisterFistr's rockets destroyed this deathworm, so I decided to test out his strength on an elemental Titanosaur by punching him. But for the final blow I used the rockets and he exploded like a piñata. even dropping some goodies for me. I saw Jacko taking on a kraken, so I decided to lend a hand. He then took on a tempest, so I helped again, but from a distance. I couldn't get a perfect breeding pair of dragons, so I made myself a little tech replicator because I wanted to make a cloning chamber. I was short on metal, so Jacko offered me a trade. He would give me the metal I needed in exchange for some more dragon eggs, so I took him up on that offer and finally made my cloning chamber to place outside. Lucas sat in the chamber ready and I converted my element into shards to power it. I pressed the button expecting it to be an instant clone, but to my disappointment I saw I had to wait nearly 2 hours. That's 2 in-game days. So in the meantime I decided to build a little section where I would breed my dragons for mutations. I popped down some fence foundations and then built up the walls. I wanted to make a bunch of mutators, so to the desert to kill more bosses because I had used up all my element on the cloning chamber. I made the mutators and placed them all down. I still had time to kill, so I went on another killing spree for primeval energies. Finally, the time had come and I had my clone of Lucas, but I needed a female, which, by the way, is incredibly hard to get in Pugnacia. So I used the mutator to change cloned Lucas to a female, and then I changed her name to Lucinda. I finally had the perfect male and female to start breeding mutations. I powered each mutator to send out a pulse of radiation and then sat collecting eggs. They were at it like rabbits, so I had to make a second incubator to accommodate all these eggs, and in my very first batch I got health mutations. So while they were breeding, I headed out to kill more bosses for more element. I got a bit too cocky with Mothra and I forgot to heal, so she destroyed MisterFistr and very nearly killed me too, but I legged it through the desert to safety. Back home, I had to make another MisterFistr sacrifice and fed it to one of my new health mutated babies, and then took him to the desert to level up again. The next day, I met up with Jacko as we were going to take on Skana together. As it picked me up and threw me around, Jacko had DC'd. But luckily for me, Skana had glitched and it was frozen in this position, so I didn't move and I sat here roasting it to death. Finally, he went down and I got my goodies. Hey. I got a Vulcan chest piece, the next tier of armor. I killed a few more primevals on my way home and then I put on my new chest piece. I was looking good and feeling fancy. The next morning, I hatched up one of my new mutated dragons, and Kay named this one Pragon because it's a primeval dragon. How does she come up with these marvelous names? And where did I go to level up? Not to the desert. I went and hunted down all the MisterFistrs I could because I needed the flaming fist that he drops. I even took on 2 Fistrs at once, but my new Pragon was doing some good damage. I ran into a kraken and thought, more element couldn't hurt, so we killed him also. Killed a phoenix, and I saw an old enemy as I was flying around. I finally got my revenge on an ancient turkey. It's about damn time to take on my first Tempest, Bringer of Rain. This battle went on for some time. He tried to throw me with his tornado, but of course I was victorious, and I got the leggings I was after. I'm not sure if I missed them before, or I just hadn't gotten them, but I needed to kill Skana to get the Vulcan boots, and this time, I got them! I then found another overspawn, this time of otters, and it dropped me down about a bajillion frames, so I took great satisfaction in killing them all. Back at home, I made a MisterFistr sacrifice. Then with the sacrifice, I made a trophy, and when this is placed inside a dino's inventory, it deals 50% more damage. Excellent.
Excellent.
The time had come to face the infamous Spinebreaker, the end of all hope. He shoots rockets from all angles, has a giant black bubble of death, and he is relentless. But I had a crazy mutated dragon, a Fistr trophy, and the will to be victorious. So I tanked his rockets and dodged his bubbles until finally he fell to my superior damage, and I finally got the gauntlets I needed to complete my Vulcan armor set. I realised I had neglected my poor Thyla, so I made him a saddle, and after watching the beautiful sunrise we set off on an adventure. I come across this little Jabob Ross, so I tamed him up and named him Ross Jabob. I went back to base and had to make him his own little house, because this little artist would generate dye in its inventory for me. I took on another Spinebreaker, and a Carcanos got caught in the crossfire, and then sabotaged the rest of my fight. I got stuck on its carcass and the Spinebreaker got me with its bubble of death. Ouch, no. Charlie.
Charlie, that really hurt!
I went back to recover the trophy and took a new mutated dragon to the desert to level him up and get revenge by killing a few more Spinebreakers. Mr. Ross-Jabob had been a busy boy, and I used his dye to beautify myself. I painted all my Vulcan armor and did a floss to celebrate. So I have boosted breeding because a little birdie told me how OP the Pugnacia boss is. Captain. So I spent some time working on my dragon mutations, but I got bored, so I left them breeding and decided to check off the second boss on my list. I made myself a spine breaker. I gathered some rainbow poop and to the desert, where I tried to take on Mothra. Quickly realized I couldn't do it, so I ran away. But I can take on this Titanosaur, right? Right? Welp. That went according to plan. Back at base, I made a Spinebreaker trophy, and this will allow me to turn any dino into a shoulder pet, and I had just the one in mind. This is a terrestrial Bronto, and it gives a damage and speed boost to all dinos in the area. So I knocked him out, fed him a golden kibble, and popped this guy on my shoulder. Look how cute he is up there. I tested out this new buff on an elemental Titanosaur. My new Pragon was now dealing 500,000 per tick with his fire damage and over 2 million per bite. Now this is a boss fighting dino. I went to visit Jacko, who was breeding up Spinebreakers, and my new little friend did a not so little poop on arrival. I got in place, ready to witness the magic of a Spinebreaker birth.
Oh my god, he shit on my face.
Yes, that was magical. I decided to try out my new trank gun that I had got from a Spinebreaker, but I first had to make ammo for it. Because it could shoot underwater, that's where I went to test it. But I came across a Leopleurodon, and the spyglass told me it generates apex drops when it's on Wonder, so I had to tame this guy up. Then had some fun shooting the splurge gun at some angry Brucers. I picked up an Arthropleurer on the way home, as this guy said he generates artifacts, and that gave me an idea. I tamed him up and put out the magical Leopleurodon in the water and hitched him up so I could put him on Wonder, and then did the same with my Arthropleurer. But something weird happened, and he was wandering a bit too far. I checked the hitching post and it was still attached, and as I chased him down, he disappeared. So I went to get another, except then he reappeared. Seems MisterFistr didn't like the new one and he killed it. I decided maybe he should be housemates with Ross Bob, the Jabob Ross. I then went to see what I would need to visit the Crystal Wyvern Queen. The time had finally arrived. After many hours and many days grinding all the energies, I made a sacrifice for each boss. I threw out the dragons that I needed to sacrifice, and finally, I was moments away from completing my secondary goal of this challenge. And I made each of the pseudo bosses. Mission complete. I had a quick test with the Kraken before grabbing some rainbow poop. I picked up all my boss dinos and then patiently waited for morning to arrive. Come daybreak, the leveling up mission began, and I spent the next few days force feeding my dinos some rainbow poop and leveling them up ready for the boss. But when it came to the Tempest, Captain noticed that I should be able to soul ball its tornado. And he was right. It also said to equip a Tapahara saddle to ride. So we went back home to make one. I made the tornado again, picked it up, threw it out, equipped the saddle, and oh my god. Then it was back to the desert to test out the Spinebreaker and his bubble of death. I destroyed everything in my path, and feeling satisfied, I went to Jacko's for a little sleepover and flew back home in the morning with just my tech suit. I had just 2 more bosses to level up. I couldn't really go to the desert with Kyrene as it was slow AF, but also I couldn't see anything. So we hunted locally and I saved the biggest for last. The Titanosaur and I went to the Griffin Trench to get our levels. I decided I would add a little extension to my base, so I started placing down foundations to make a front porch area. I added some stairs and a few pieces of decoration. Then I filled this wall with canvases, but I got a bit carried away with my paint gun and painted everything purple. But finally, my wall was complete. I had painted the logos of the content creators who had all inspired me, a wall of friends that I had made during my Ark journey, and I just wanted to say thank you to them all. The next morning, I heard Jacko was in the Griffin Trench, so I went to investigate. He had gotten a Skarner tail that dealt large amounts of torpor, and he was running through stabbing all the griffins on foot. He was so tiny and hard to follow, but I could just see mounds of knocked out griffins left behind. And then it was time for some more fun. I had gotten all of the artifacts and the apex drops needed to fight the crystal wyvern queen. We went in with one dragon each and quickly realised we would kill the queen in one bite.
Oh no, one bite and I'm gonna kill it. 950 health.
Let me just do it.
What are you doing?
I'm stabbing it with a spike.
So we decided to let our Brontos do the work for us. I punched some eggs and ran around on foot until my dragon took a bite of the crystal wyvern queen.
Oh, you took a bite and it killed him.
Oopsie!
Hey.
The fun was over, but we sat in her nests breathing fire in celebration. After the battle, it was time to take a seat and relax. So I was just chilling here when Jacko decided he would throw some poop at me. We were both stood and admired the creator wall for a while, until then Jacko decided to throw double poop at me. So of course I had to return the favour. We spent far too long playing catch with the dino poop before Jacko took it too far and pooped on my bed.
Did you just fucking amber turd in my bed?
With just a few days ahead of me, I wanted to do something to take my mind off the battle to come. So we decided to build a village, and we knew just the spot. Tucked away in the floating mountains was a little hidden rainbow paradise. We camped here for the night, but Jacko had other ideas. And whilst I was AFK, I got imprisoned. I couldn't even power punch my way out, not for lack of trying. But Jacko was nice enough to give me a chair so I could rest whilst I was captured. But I tried to escape and then Ark held me hostage. I could do nothing but dance in desperation. Glad I could provide Jacko with the entertainment. He even opened the door to get a better view. Still the power punch could not save me. After finally being freed, we sat at the campfire and made a truce. We then decided the ultimate truce would be to join tribes. So we decided to go somewhere memorable. To the volcano! We had one more issue to resolve.
What emote? Wow. I was offended and that hurt my feelings.
That hurt your feelings. How dare you? Oh, it's done.
But we talked it out. Then he abused his power and nearly punched me off the side of the volcano. But enough games. We went back to our bases and started crafting as much as we could before heading to our rainbow village to begin decorating. I was the engineering mastermind and built all the bridges connecting the islands together, and then got to work placing some houses around. As darkness crept in, I decided to light up our bridge. At some point, Jacko decided to sleep on the job. I did have plans for him, but as I dragged him, I saw his Bronto was following, and I couldn't deal with being responsible for it dying. So I decided to release him and plotted to get my revenge at a later date. I marvelled at how beautiful this place was and then got right back to work. Put down another house, more decoration, and then built the last bridge. I flew around in my tech suit to admire my work. I had bred my boss fighting dragons, so to the desert to start getting them levelled up. I met Jacko there whilst he levelled up his indoms. We killed and levelled up, killed and levelled up. Killed and... well, you get the picture. Jacko had a casualty during one of his fights, RIP Indom. I went back home to get my ascension portal and placed it in my new house. I placed a dermis of my dragon in my base as a statue of honour, and then did this subtle dance to celebrate how far we had come. I made my MisterFistr trophies for my boss fighting dragons. With our challenge approaching the end, we took a moment to reflect on our time here on Crystal Isles. Nim made a skiff and Jacko provided some waiting music.
Play that funky music, white girls.
We flew around with the wind in our hair, admiring the beauty of the map. That was until I got knocked off by a low-hanging branch, but they came back to pick me up. We stopped so I could farm some resources for the very last time. I made us a bench because walking around on a flying hovercraft seemed a bit too dangerous. We visited the volcano where we joined tribes. We flew above the red trees and through the snow, until finally day broke and we found a place large enough to place down the boss arena. I cleared out the trees so the area was nice and clear. I lined up all my soldiers and then time to throw out the bosses I had tamed. I was on my pragon with a MisterFistr at each side. This is what I had been working towards. Time to take on the bosses. Up first is the Brood Mother. Here she be.
Oh, Droblin! Straight off the bat, what?
Oh no.
What's so close? Oh, that's nice.
As quick as she was spawned, she was dead. Easy work. Up next, the Mega Pegasus. Oh, Harambe!
I'll send my guys in first. Get him, boys. Alright, go for gold.
Oh, Droblin's go.
My Scarlet.
Oh, some of the reinforcements went in.
Yeah. He did a lot of damage, but was no match for our army. We had a couple go down, but we were still looking strong. Then it was time for dragons versus dragon. Jumping around. Dragon.
Look at it.
Here you go, guys. We had to take on this fight alone because we have flyers. So we battled in the air until... I'm gonna get it. I'm getting it. It's nearly dead. It's nearly dead. It's dead. We won. I did have a couple more dragons die in this battle, and their bodies fell mangled in the battlefield. No! I just saw my dragon fall to its death. No! We repositioned our armies that night. I summoned in the Manticore. We held back with the flyers so Jacko could do some damage, and then when the Manticore took flight, it was our turn to chase. He's nearly dead, he's dead. Hey.
Oh, nice.
We had no deaths that round, so it was a good battle strategy. And finally, the morning of day 100, the goal we had all been working towards. So the boys spent it whipping each other, of course. With all our army lined up for the final time, it was time to take on the Pugnacia boss. So I spawned in the hippo and we all charged in together.
Look at them just run around it.
Oh,
look at it. It's a hippopotamus. Look at that hippopotamus. Okay, do you want to... Duck, you give him a bite? Give him a bite, Duck? Oh! Go, 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 go!
Get in there, guys. Get in there. Guys, what are you doing?
None of my guys are getting in.
None of mine are either.
There you go,
there we go.
Oh my god.
Why am I dismounted? I'm dismounted.
There you go, all the other bosses are. Oh god, I need to press that. I cannot see. The damage numbers are too insane. Press that again.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
What is going on?
Oh, it's almost dead. It's almost dead. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna kill it. It's dead. It's dead.
No.
It's dead. We got it.
Just like that.
Holy shit.